Hello and welcome to the big picture. The role of the judiciary has always been a topic of debate. Periodically, we have witnessed the judges themselves indulging in introspection on public fora about the state of the judiciary. But when the Prime Minister joins the fray, the issue becomes that much more important. The suggestions and comments made by Prime Minister Modi last week at the Conference of Chief Justices and Chief Ministers has naturally raised interest as well as reactions and counter-reactions. Especially his statement that the judiciary needs to ponder whether five-star activists are driving the judiciary today has witnessed strong reactions as well as debate and comments about it. Both the role of the activists in driving judicial decisions as well as the propensity or otherwise of the judiciary to be influenced or driven by activism has come into focus. The pros and cons of activism and how important a role it plays in questioning decisions of the government and its motivations in doing so also has come into focus. The question we are asking today is the judiciary amenable to activists' pressure when it is delivering judgments? To discuss this, I have with me Justice B.A. Khan, former Chief Justice of the Jammu and Kashmir High Court, Prashant Bhushan, Advocate, Supreme Court, Anjali Bharadwaj, a well-known activist and Secretary National Campaign for People's Right to Information, and Vinod Sharma, Political Editor, Hindustan Times. Welcome to all of you. Prashant, you were one of the first people to react to this statement made by the Prime Minister the other day. What made you react to this statement? He did not take any names. He was only talking of this possibility of the judiciary being influenced by what he calls five-star activists.
Well, I was outraged by the brazen attempt on the part of the Prime Minister to browbeat the judiciary, influence it, and then influence it by saying that the judiciary is being unduly and unfairly influenced by five-star activists. Which five-star activists is he referring to which the judiciary has been influenced by? In fact, it's actually absolutely the opposite which is the case. These poor activists, by and large, they are activists who are working pro bono, who are working to protect and save the environment, who are working to protect people from human rights violations, who are working to save this country from corruption. And on the other side, they are faced by these five-star crony capitalists and these five-star governments and five-star prime ministers who wear $10,000 pinstripe suits, etc. Now, it is astounding for the Prime Minister to claim, firstly, that activists are five-star activists, and secondly, that these five-star activists are able to unduly influence the judiciary. What is he talking about? In fact, he has been taking credit for some of the actions of the judiciary, which are the result of activists like us, because of which the Supreme Court cancelled these illegally granted leases, as a result of which the public exchequer benefited by several lakh crores, for which the Prime Minister is claiming credit, and at the same time he has the gall and the temerity to seek to browbeat the judiciary by saying that it is being unduly influenced by five-star activists.
Prashant, so you're accepting that you are one of the activists which he is referring to, but some of the issues which you have raised, needs debate, because there are some of the issues which the Prime Minister raised also needs to be discussed. Please stay on. I'll come back to you. I have Justice Khan here. Justice Khan, the question is this. The question.
Girish, yes. I'll have to go because I have some.
Okay, Prashant. So
I have some other commitments.
Right, Prashant. So I'll finish. I'll finish with you first. Tell me that the issue raised by the Prime Minister, he says that there is this possibility that he is saying the judiciary has to ponder over this issue because there are possibilities that they may be influenced by the atmosphere which prevails, and this may be because of the activists or media or whatever it is. Don't you think that is something which needs some kind of an introspection as far as the judiciary is concerned?
See, let us debate specific cases of judicial activism. Is he saying that the judiciary's activism against corruption is misplaced? I mean, it's all very well for the same people to seek credit for the judiciary when they are in the opposition and when the judiciary is coming down on corruption of the then ruling party. Then when they come into the government, they start saying absolutely the opposite things. Then is he talking about environmental activism? Because this government is now trying to dismantle all environmental regulations, dismantle the Beneficial Land Acquisition Act that was brought last year, dismantle every kind of regulation to promote the growth of their crony capitalists. The same Prime Minister went to Australia and got the State Bank to give a 6,000 crore loan to his five-star crony Adani, when all the Australian banks had refused to give them loan on the ground that it was totally unwarranted. And yet, the same Prime Minister is now talking about five-star activists driving the judiciary.
No, but another...
What does he mean? Does he mean that environment... Does
No.
he mean that environmental activism of the Supreme Court is misplaced, it should stop?
No.
Does he mean that human rights activism, that the Supreme Court's attempt to create an SIT for investigating the Gujarat riots, that this is the result of five-star activism? What does he mean?
No, but Prashant, don't you think that there is a need for introspection as far as the judiciary is concerned? Or you think that there is nothing wrong with the judiciary, some of the issues raised by the Prime Minister?
No, there is need for introspection of the judiciary so far as various other judicial reforms are concerned. The state of the judiciary is certainly not very healthy, but that does not mean that the few good things that they are doing by means of judicial activism and responding to the cries of activists who are crying to protect the environment, to save the country from corruption and to protect the human rights of people, that these actions of the judiciary, which are highly laudable, which are the few great things that the judiciary has done, that he is trying to portray as if these good things are a result of five-star activism and are misplaced, etc.
Okay, Prashant, thanks for joining us. I'll let you go now. I'm told that you have to leave. Thanks for joining us. We are now joined by Seshadri Chari, National Executive Member of the BJP. Welcome, Seshadri Chari. Mr. Chari, my question is, do you understand what the Prime Minister said when he said that five-star activists are influencing judiciary? Maybe influencing judiciary.
See, the Prime Minister pointed out certain aberrations in the system. And if you expect that the Prime Minister is going to go there and just pat the judiciary and come back, I don't think that was necessary. Just as Mr. Prashant Bhushan himself said, that there are certain good things and certain bad things. Judiciary also has to look into its own side. If a judge can make a comment on all politicians, if a judge can make a comment on the political process in this country, why can't a politician make a comment on judiciary and not an ordinary politician, the Prime Minister of the country who is seized of the problems? So I think it should be taken in the proper spirit instead of just going off tangent to all these kinds of Adanis and Ambanis and what happened in Australia and what happened in Switzerland and all that. I think let us come to the basic issue.
The basic issue,
Mr.
Chari, the basic issue of what the Prime Minister said, from what I can understand, from what I've read of his statement, is that he says that the judiciary should ponder whether five-star activists are driving the judiciary today. Do you think that judiciary is driven by five-star activists?
See, he didn't say judiciary is driven by five-star activists.
He said ponder.
Nobody will say that. Nobody in all senses will say that.
It must be pondered.
All that he said was, there is an attempt.
Chari, let me quote his word. It must be pondered over whether five-star activists are driving the judiciary today. This is the quote.
Correct. So, it should be pondered. Let the judiciary come out and say, which in all fairness to judiciary, even I think, not all judges can be cowed down by the so-called quote-unquote the five-star activism. And don't forget, there is a section of the media which is there, which is ready to highlight all these things. There are people in the media who are overawed. There are people in the society who can be overawed. There are policemen in this country who can be overawed. So these things do take place. Therefore, we should also take into consideration that everyone who stands up against an establishment need not necessarily be a friend of judiciary. After all, when Mrs. Indira Gandhi said, we want committed judiciary in this country, where were all these votaries of judicial independence?
Okay.
They have red tape all over their face.
Okay, but do you agree with the Prime Minister that there are 5-star activists in this country?
Yes, there are. There
And
are
what is-
5-star activists.
There are 5-star activists. I know.
Absolutely, yes.
How would you describe them?
No, it's not the question of the people know it. The judiciary knows it. The politicians know it. Even the 5-star themselves know it. There are people
Okay.
who want to make it. I mean, this NGO activism has become a business.
Okay.
And if none other than Mr. Prashant Bhushan himself should know.
Okay. Justice Khan, two issues here. One is about the judiciary being amenable. Is the judiciary amenable to pressures of the activists?
I agree, this is not something new which judiciary has been attracting. Judiciary has been always vulnerable to these kinds of accusations because we are having an adversarial system in this country and it's not possible for judiciary to keep both sides happy. It can give a decision only in favor of one, be that executive or be that the social advocacy class or be that the activist or be that whatever. Now, these kinds of things coming from all over, it is inherent in the very nature of the functioning of the judiciary. Because see, if a case goes against, the decision goes against you, you also suspect number of things. Maybe the judge must have been influenced and so on and so forth. But when it comes from the Prime Minister, matter becomes very serious.
Exactly.
And to me, it amounts to attributing motives to the judiciary. When the Prime Minister of a country says that judiciary is getting influenced by some kind of a 5-star NGO or whatever, or a perception-driven verdicts are being
Yes,
given.
perception-driven
I
verdicts.
mean, it's not, it doesn't behave a Prime Minister to attack or ridicule an institution, the independence of which Prime Minister must defend and protect. And Constitution makes it independent. If you go on attributing motive, if a Prime Minister goes on attributing a motive to the judiciary, it will result in lack of faith and confidence in this institution.
Would you agree with that, Mr. Chari?
No, no,
May
no.
I
I'm
complete
very
one
sorry
second?
to say.
I'll just come back.
No, I'm very sorry to say these words, attack, ridicule. I don't see any reason why we should read in between the line and come to the conclusion that it is an attack, it is a ridiculing. Where did the Prime Minister ridicule? I mean, if you say that don't go ahead, there is a warning signal, the road is bad, there is a crack, and you are going to fall, your car is going to have an accident. You think you are ridiculing the driver, you are
he was only
ridiculing, you are
warning.
attacking?
So he was only warning.
It's not the question of warning. It is just pointing out certain anomalies.
Okay.
Just as the judiciary has every right under the Constitution to say that the politicians are doing something wrong.
Okay, Mr. Justice Khan.
You know, the very fact that Prime Minister is pointing to judiciary being influenced by some quarter, that by itself is attribution of a motive.
Okay.
See, just a minute. Judiciary is an institution, an independent institution under the Constitution. When I decide 10 matters in favor of the government, am I getting influenced? And that time, the private citizen feels that judiciary is getting influenced because it's under government's this thing. Now, there is no end to it.
There is no end to
There
this.
is no end to it.
Absolutely. Anjali, as an activist, how do you feel when this kind of statements are made? In fact, you know, it's some kind of a backhanded compliment actually that you people can influence the judiciary.
No, I think that I tend to agree with him that, you know, this is less of a comment on activists and more of a comment and an aspersion on the judiciary, because what is implicit in that statement is that the judiciary is not being able to take decisions independently. But having said that, since Mr. Chari is here, maybe he could also tell us, I do not know what the provocation for this statement could also be. The fact is that in the past, there have been any number of cases. We can think of many activists who could perhaps fit in the 5-star category that is being referred to, who have brought up cases of corruption, whether it is the 2G scam or it is the coal scam,
What
Mr.
is a-
Subramaniam Swami
According
and
to you,
so
who
on.
is a five-star activist?
And no, that's what I'm saying, that it needs to be defined. Who is a five-star activist? And if we are talking about well-off people who have brought up cases and questioned corruption and so on, I think the BJP, for example, has benefited in the past from those, and I would say that the country has, when corruption has been brought out in the open and the courts have come down heavily on corruption. And therefore one wonders that what is the provocation for this statement right now? Are there any recent judgments that the Prime Minister has in mind which are upsetting him, which makes him suddenly feel that this is inconvenient? And therefore what was so far convenient because they were in the opposition is suddenly not convenient and therefore condemnable, and the judiciary is suddenly seeming to be driven by these so-called five-star activists. I think also the other thing which needs to be taken care of, and I think that it's something that mustn't be lost sight of in a democracy, is that civil society has a very important role to play. Civil society and the media in terms of projecting those concerns, and it doesn't matter if it's a five-star activist or it's the poorest person on the street. If the issue is of injustice, then that injustice has to be highlighted. And the judiciary must make sure that when the case comes up in front of them, and I think they do make sure, which is why we don't consider ourselves to be a banana republic, which is why
So
there is a great deal of faith in the judiciary. So the judiciary then works within the framework of the constitution and upholds the law of the land. So I think that in a democracy, to say that this perception which is being created by civil society, then it is being projected somehow by the media, and saying that it is unduly impacting the decisions of the judiciary, I think it's very questionable.
Okay, Vinod, as a journalist, you have been witnessing that the judiciary, the executive, the legislature, all the three wings from very close quarters for last 25-30 years. You know, when Prime Minister says something like this, I'm sure he must have had something in his mind. In all fairness, you know, we have had problems with the judiciary also. So isn't it something which needs to be taken, instead of seeing it as some kind of a, attempt to influence the judiciary?
First of all, the Prime Minister said that the judiciary should ponder.
Exactly.
And I think that this is my personal assessment of the judiciary, that regardless of the very many questions which are being raised about it sometimes, if we have any institution in this country which is the most ponderous, it is the judiciary. The institutional memory of the judiciary of India almost matches the institutional memory of the Parliament of India. Though Supreme Court is not supreme, the supreme institution is Parliament. I personally feel that if an issue of this nature was better stated on the floor of the House after a debate on judiciary or the need to judicial reforms, I think that we would have got a variety of opinion into the institutional memory of Parliament that would have balanced the debate. A. B. If I were to advise, and I mean I'm being a bit presumptuous in saying that,
You are.
but I would not venture into this area, because any politician, and I'm not specifically talking about the Honorable Prime Minister, any politician who in his long career has had rather ugly run-ins with the judiciary should restrain himself from making these kind of comments about an institution. And that is where the questions arise.
Absolutely.
Whether this is a well-meaning advice or whether this is an advice driven by some past experiences. No, one is not passing a value judgment on the experiences of an individual vis-a-vis the judiciary. One is only saying that when you are yourself a creature of the Constitution, you're holding a position under the Constitution, then you have to be very, very circumspect when you are addressing an assembly of judges from across India. I mean, it is nothing that which has been said via an interview. He's addressing himself to the judiciary per se as it exists in India. And there was a speech by the Honorable Chief Justice as well at the same time, where he asked for coordination between various pillars of the Indian state. Now, my worry as a journalist, 1 minute, Girish, My worry as a journalist is that if today there is a category called five-star activists, and their work is being projected by the media. So if there is some degree of restraint sought to be put there, it will automatically come to me as well. And this issue has gone before the court in the past. I remember Justice Kapadia was the Chief Justice when this matter came up about deferred relay of court proceedings.
Yes.
And the court handled that very carefully. And I think it was very much in order with the prestige and the position of the court. And the person who was actually seeking a deferment of telecast or such things and all that,
reporting.
Mr. Fali Nariman himself took a position finally, which was against that
Absolutely.
No.
Seshadri Chari, sir, you want to intervene?
No, Girish, I wanted to say that,
Yes.
see, there are lots of issues confronting the judiciary. It's true, I'm not saying that judges are angels and they commit no mistakes.
And I'm sure you will not say that there could be judges who may be influenced by the environment outside.
No, not in, but this is, see, when a matter comes to the court, the judge would not know whether you are a 3-star or a 5-star. See, he has to give his decision within the parameters of law. If a judge finds that there is a human rights violation and his decision for upholding it goes against any prime minister, how does it matter? Because constitution mandates him to do so. So this 5-star business is not known to any judiciary at all. Maybe we have problems within the judiciary, we have problems of delays, we have problems of accountability, we have problems, we have problems, just as Prime Minister said, judiciary being still archaic. Why doesn't the government take it out of that? How is it that you are giving 0.1% budget to the judiciary out of the national budget and you still expect wonders to work?
There is one point. You know,
I wish if when Prime Minister addressed these Chief Justice's conference, I was in the Chief Justice conference when Mr. Modi addressed it as Chief Minister of Gujarat. And that time how he projected what he wants to do for the judiciary. Now if he has some concern for the judiciary's malfunctioning or whatever, or not delivering. Now, it's all, for example, on tribunals, he said...
That was a valid point which he made about
on tribunals, he says, but
Yes.
what prevents from abolishing these? Who is accommodating people, favorites in those tribunals?
No, but may I say one thing?
Very quickly,
You
let
see,
me get
you know,
carried on.
past reports of the Law Commission, the Honourable Judge would bear me out, have pointed out, Law Commission reports, some of them have pointed out in the past, that the media coverage of cases which have a great popular connect, you know, people's connect, tends to influence the judiciary, the judge. They have said that, the media coverage.
Yes.
Now that brings us into an entirely different dimension.
Absolutely. Mr. Chari, the question is this, you know, the activism, activists, these are something which are now, especially in this era of PIL, PILs. Can we wish away this activism or activists, and can the judiciary also just turn a blind eye to it?
No, it's nobody's argument that the judiciary should turn a blind eye to all these things just on the face of what appears to be a perception. But it is also, it cannot be argued that no, that such a perception does not exist. Just as Justice pointed out some time back, that there is a perception that the government of the day has can to some extent influence judiciary. Just as it's very normal for a person to think that the police can be influenced by the government, the CBI can be influenced by the government, the IB can be influenced by the government. These are all government organs. So there is a general perception that judiciary is only for the rich, for those who can get things done, for those who can. I'm very sorry to say, I have no intention of hurting the sentiments of people, or for that matter casting any aspersions on judiciary, but we do hear words like judgment can be purchased. These words have been in circulation.
Absolutely.
So I think when the Prime Minister of the country says, and as Vinod very rightly pointed out, he is a victim of judicial activism, he is a victim of NGO activism. There was one activist.
No, that is
NGO
exactly the point. No, would you agree with
the Supreme Court? Would you agree with? Supreme Court itself said.
No, that's right. So would you agree with Vinod would you agree with Vinod in those circumstances?
Then it is
he
vindictive.
needs to be a little more circumspect.
No,
because,
then
it could be seen as words coming out of his personal experience.
No, it is not. He did not mention any of that things. He does not carry that kind of image or grudge against anybody, neither the NGO nor that. But he made a general statement. I think this statement should be taken in its proper sense, only one thing. But I have a slight difference of opinion with what Vinod said, that the Prime Minister should have made it on the floor of the House. I think that would have been even greater wrong.
No, but that
to
would
make
have,
it on the floor of the House.
it would have followed a debate.
No.
I mean, I think we need a wholesome debate on the floor of the House.
If it is a reaction to some victimhood,
Yes,
Then
it's vindictive.
It is better to make this report
then it's
outside.
vindictive. Now, there is what Mr. Chari was saying. I mean, there are perceptions. The paid judgment's perception is there. Some other perception is there. Judiciary mostly working in favor of the government is there. Always you will find people talking about that. People talking about that.
The adage, the law takes its course.
Yeah.
I challenge it seriously because the law changes its course with the change of the government. I mean, that perception is there.
No, but anyway, Anjali, the question is this. The activists have a certain role to play. They come in conflict with the judiciary sometimes. They come in conflict with the executive sometimes, with the government and every. So this is something, this relationship between the activists and the various wings of the government is something, a fine balancing act needs to be done. Is this something which can be a problem for the activists?
No, I don't think this is a problem for the activists. But what I would like to say, and especially since right now we were discussing the fact that, it is sometimes said that decisions can be bought. And perhaps it is in that context that five-star activists were talked about. Then why this particular targeting of five-star activists, whatever that term might mean? Why not five-star corporates or five-star politicians or so on? So, I mean, clearly, which is what brings me back to the question that what is the provocation for this? And when we talk about five-star activists in particular, and we are targeting a certain section of society, the civil society, if I may say, or the NGOs, who are actually bringing out issues of malgovernance, issues of corruption, raising issues of human rights violation, and usually at great cost. For example, if one were to talk about a well-off activist in that sense, I could think of many people who have even lost their lives, starting from Satyendra Dubey.
Absolutely.
And these people have no protection. They're coming forward. They are the conscience keepers of democracy, of our society.
Okay.
In this context, to actually pinpoint those people and say that the judiciary is being driven by them because there might be some cases which are decided in the favor of
at the end of the day, it all balances out.
And Girish, may I add a thing?
Well, I'll come to you, Chari.
No class, be that a political class or an activist class or a journalist class, is happy with judiciary.
Okay.
For the simple reason, because judiciary can't keep every section happy.
Every section happy.
Number two.
Yes.
Political class, political executive is more unhappy and more antagonistic because its actions which do not meet the requirements of law are being questioned by the judiciary, and there can't be a very cordial, happy relationship between. If you want this judiciary in this country to be an independent institution.
Okay. Mr. Chari, very quick last words to you. You think that, Anjali asked a very pertinent question. What was the provocation? You think the provocation was there for this kind of statement to be made?
No, I don't think every statement needs a provocation. The Prime Ministers, the Presidents, the Chief Justice and all these people need not have necessarily a provocation to say certain things. And they are there to air the views that are emanating from the society. And there is a section of the society which thinks in these terms. And it should be, these sentences should be segregated from the normal cases of those people like Mr. Dubey who gave their life for the sake of civil society and truth. I don't think the Prime Minister was in any way aiming at those people or all that. So, chor ke dadi mein tinke wali baat is
I think on that note, the instrumentality of PIL is safe in this country. The public interest litigation will continue to happen in this country.
I think on that note,
misuse of that should be stopped.
I think on that note, we need to completely run out of time. But this is a fascinating discussion, and this is a debate which this country needs to do more, so that there is no more confusion on this score. But as far as the judiciary is concerned, I hope it will continue to be act as independently as it has always. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue, The Big Picture, same time tomorrow.